on WCEG.radio.com. You can watch us on live Smart TV, YouTube, and WCEG Network. My name is Ramona, and your host for our Bilingual Place. For the next hour, I'm gonna be with you. We are the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group, where speak life into community. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us in Instagram at WCEG Talk Radio and WCEG Network. The comments and the opinions expressed in this program are not responsibility for WCEG Network. Buenos días, nosotros somos WCEG Network, nosotros somos el grupo de empoderamiento de la comunidad mundial. Hablamos de la vida en la comunidad. Nos puedes dar un like en Facebook, seguirnos en Twitter, en WCEG Talk Radio, en WCEG Network, en Instagram. Las opiniones expresadas en este programa no son responsabilidad de WCEG Network. Buenos días a todos. Gracias por estar una vez más con nosotros aquí. Hoy tenemos un tema muy interesante que es cómo nosotros conservamos nuestra herencia y cómo esta herencia nos trae a nosotros lo que somos ahora. Thank you so much for staying with us today. We have an interesting topic today and we have an amazing guest. And I'm gonna let them to introduce themselves. Pauline?
Good morning. I'm always glad to be with you, Ramona, and I'm particularly glad to be with you for this particular radio show. I think this is going to be very, very interesting. I'm Pauline Mansfield, and I'm one of Ramona's author colleagues. So thank you.
Dionicio?
Hey, good morning. And first of all, I want to say thank you, and thank you to everybody that's listening. And just like Miss Pauline, I am one of Ramona's, I don't know if I can call her my friend, but or she can call me a friend, but we are friends. And thank you guys, and I hope y'all enjoy this.
Yes. And you know, this month is, last month was the month for the Black History Month. And it is very important. I was reading some articles and I was looking, different, we can say concepts or opinions from writers. And I like one, and it say that History Month is so important, recognize, because we recognize and we have a time to reflection about where we come from, what happened in our past that build our skills on the present, and also build, it makes us to continue changing things in our life, and not only in our life, but also in the lives for everyone around, especially in our family. Just to continue teaching them the importance to keep our roots, to keep our heritage, something that the oldest teaching us, so we can continue, and also we can have very strong our identity, where we come from and where we're going, because that is very important. If you don't know what you want for your future, for the children, then what? So, Pauline,
yes,
can you tell us a little bit how your past, how living with knowing and struggling with your family, on the past, how has inspired you, or how it's impacted your life now in the present?
Well, I think that we're probably all a composite of our entire life, especially where we grew up. I grew up in a really small town just outside of Washington, D.C. And our whole town, which was probably 5 miles long and 3 miles wide, we were just one big family. We still are, even though I'm not there. These were people who nurtured me. Every mother and dad in that community was also my parent. And so because I grew up in such a close-knit family, not just my immediate family, but my community family, I think that helped me to feel a sense of who I was, just being me, being accepted. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe, having all that love all the time, daily, just made me know that I could comfortably move anywhere. And actually, I'm one of the few who left the town.
Mm.
I went away, went to college. The most of them that still remain are still so tight, and I miss that a little bit. Um, but it was that loving environment, I think, that really helped form me.
Mm. That's interesting. And what about you, Dionisio?
Well, to me, I think it's a little bit different because I was born in Mexico. However, I was raised here, in the United States. So when you have two different cultures or two different types of how people think, and you're raised one way at in your house, but you go outside and you see a different culture. It just raised you that to the person that you grew up with different out views of life, even at home. But just like Miss Pauline was saying, uh, we have the community sometimes that we grew up since we were just mm, there was not many Hispanics or Mexicans at the time that when we were here, when I was, a young kid, that we had that same community that, we're a family, and, the kids were or friends that you have as neighbors were as family also. And it was a great time, and for me that's the case. That I basically grew up in two different cultures, but still in a way there's so much alike. The American culture and the Mexican culture.
Mhm. Yes, and that's what you say made me think. I grew up in Mexico. I born in Mexico. I came to United States when I was 18, and see the difference between, the both cultures where I used to live in my country and come here and see, how different is very interesting. In Mexico, we celebrate our days, our months, but here is so different. Is like really recognize. It's like a period of time where you can um, inspire yourself, motivate yourself, see from outside how people have been, fighting and never let never let forget from your roots, forget for your culture, very strong. And it's something that it has been motivating me in my culture, to keep teaching my children where you come from.
Mhm.
I come from Mexico. You are Mexican from me, but you born in United States. That is very important too, but not left behind where you come from, or who was the person who raised you. I think that is the most important thing. Like in many times I have tell that sadly, because I compare sometimes myself with my friends. I have friends that don't work. They have more children than me, and they still follow the costumes and the everything, like they still in Mexico. And I feel sad, I feel ashamed that because I
Mhm.
have been focusing, in different way of life, I have been forgotten things, and I think that is very important to put outside, to encourage others, do not forget that part for everyone, because most beyond that is your culture, is your identity, is what reminds you where you come from and how do things like your oldest did, you know. Thank you both. Corlissa, how you doing today? I'm glad you make it.
Thank you. I was having a little challenge, but I made it.
So the question, Corlissa, was how your past impact your life, how your past has impacted your life, and telling us a little bit, about you.
Well, I grew up in an environment with two parents, thank God, but not just physically two parents, but they were always encouraging us to seek a plan, not just to have goals, but how are you going to obtain those goals? How are you going to reach those goals? What is your plan? And it was my father was always, what is your plan? And my mother was the master administrator to implement any plan. But we were told that second thing is education, and to get a high school degree was mandatory. That was not even in question. And we were told even from the 8th grade that when you graduate from high school, start thinking now, are you going into the military? Are you going to high school? Are you going to college, or are you going to get a job? You're not loafing around. You're going to do something in life. And I think the third thing is that my mother was always an advocate of exposing us to different things, different cultures, different activities. And I think that had a lot to do with our church environment and how we grew up.
Mm-hmm. That's nice. And it's true. It's important to get around many people who can, who can inspire you, who can push you. When you have, your mom, your dad with you, for sure somebody gonna push you to do even things that you don't want it. But it's I always encourage young people to get around people or people and listen. Just listen. I think listening has become a big art for everyone, because when you listen, you learn. And then when opportunities come, when situations come, at least you have an idea what to do, how to react. But it is important, and take advantage of education. I think is the most important part of, of the life, to build a good life. So good for moms. Okay, so the next question is, how was the well, first, who inspired you? I know we all are writers, but who inspired you to start writing? What was the situation that you remember, I'm gonna do this because I want to put my words out, or I want to speak out?
I'll answer that, Ramona. But before I do, Corlissa, you're a little bit in the dark. If you could just adjust your so we can see you a little better, or just turn your computer just slightly right or left, so we can see you better. Because you just need a little more. That's pretty good right there. Oh, that's great. You look beautiful. But to answer that question, who inspired me, Ramona?
Mm-hmm.
I gave a lot of thought to that when I saw the question. I always say my mother was my biggest inspiration, but I think my mother was my biggest cheerleader all around. She was just our light, the center of our joy. And so her persona pushed me, But actually, the writing part came from my dad. My dad was a writer. He was a writer in the sense that he didn't write books, but he wrote a column in our local newspaper that told about what was going on in our town. And he wrote every single day in his diary. And one of the things that I look forward to every year at Christmas was to get my diary as my gift from my dad. I mean, we were not people of means. We didn't have a lot of money and stuff. We were all poor. But it was the little things that made the difference. And so I knew that the one gift I got, even if I didn't get anything else, was my diary. And I had a diary that had a little lock and key. I don't know if anybody's old enough on here to remember that. They used to make little diaries and you had your own little key. And, you know, I could write my thoughts, my private thoughts. And that was following in the footsteps of my dad, who did that for over 40 years, every single day. And my mother used to say, my dad was a very quiet man. He hardly ever talked. He kept all of his thoughts to himself. My mother used to say, if I need to find out something that your dad is thinking, I'll just steal one of his diaries because he put all his thoughts there. So he planted that seed. I don't know if it was on purpose, but unknowingly, I didn't think about it until years later when I wrote his story about how that influenced me, and the seed is still there. So both of them inspired me in a different way.
Dionisio?
Well, my case is not like probably yours or the other authors on here. You know, due to me, like how my book came about is, you know, what happened to me losing my vision when I was 16. But I guess we can go that, you know, when we were young, we write poems and stuff. And, you know, I start saying my story or doing motivational speaking around schools here in Georgia. And they always have asked me why haven't I wrote the book. But honestly, when they was asking me that, in my head, I used to say there's no point, because if I'm coming, you know, to the schools telling you my story, I don't think there should be a book. However, a great friend of me and Miss Pauline, Ms. Parham, I met her and she was a librarian in my high school. And after I graduated, she got in contact with me and basically she pushed me because she was writing a book, and she pushed me. She told me that it would be great for me to write a book like that. I can, you know, reach more people or more schools or more students. And she gave me like a time limit. That she gave me Miss Pauline's number, and she told me, you're going to call her at this time. If you don't call her, I'm going to 3-way her to you. And like that, you know, you're going to get in contact with her. And, you know, basically that's how it happened with me writing my book. It's something that I guess now that I see it, it's something that it actually is amazing that I did it, because, you know, that I'm blind and something that I accomplished. But meeting guys or persons like you that are right is also a motivation, and, you know, it helps me keep writing. Once I have something in my mind, I can, you know, write it or put it down in paper, and it actually helps me. I see that as a therapy, regardless if I don't write it down as soon as I think about it. But, you know, that's what motivates me, you know, people like y'all. And basically, if I can say it in a, you know, short way, basically I was forced to write my book in a certain way. But, you know, I'm glad that Miss Pauline and Miss Parham pushed me to do that.
That's great. Corlissa, who inspired you? Oh, you are in mute?
Oh, I'm trying. I used to kind of journal a little bit. And one day my brother-in-law's father was recuperating from a procedure. And I said, you know, I need to write down something to elevate faith healing. And that's what came about with the Now Faith Cometh by Hearing booklet. And I have to agree with Dionicio. Miss Pauline reached into the chicken coop and she pulled me out. And I'm grateful, Miss Pauline, for that. And to me, it was like she was saying, okay, you've gone through Toastmasters, now you can do something else. And so she just kept pulling on us. And, you know, we finally got that anthology together and she pulled it together. And I think those are the two greatest things that caused me to start writing and thinking about writing.
Yes, that's true. And I had to echo that. If I weren't for Pauline, I never would be had in my mind the idea to write a book. And, you know, when the first time Pauline told me, I was just thinking and thinking and thinking. And I say, you know, I'm very risky person. I don't lose any opportunity because I think you cannot lose an opportunity because opportunities don't come every day. And risking to take an opportunity is 100% you're gonna learn something and you're gonna improve. So I was thinking, the first thing was, how I gonna do it? Who gonna help me? How much is gonna be cost? But once Pauline guided me through everything, it was easy. It was easy. It was encouraging. I never thought really to have 2 books from now, three with the collaboration with the anthology, with all the amazing group we have. So thank you for that, Pauline. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I will tell you, Ramona and Corlissa and Dionicio, it's just been a gift to me. You know, I think just like when we're growing up, people plant the seed and motivate us. I think now we have an obligation to motivate each other.
Mhm.
I think there's a blessing in that for all of us as a unit, as a people,
Yeah.
to do that, you know. And
Mhm.
Ramona, you were talking about how we sometimes grow up, get busy, just working, trying to make a living, trying to take care of our families, and we forget about those things that made us who we are. And I think one of those things is unity.
Mhm.
I think that's the gift that I got from where I came from. The sense of unity. And I unfortunately I think that's maybe it's not dead, but it certainly is floundering.
Mhm.
That people don't reach down and help each other. And that was the part of my culture, my upbringing that I brought forward with me. And I'm hoping, I'm sure that I planted that in my children, because we can't do this by ourselves, you know. So it should be like breathing, that it's just not about me, you know, it's about us,
Yeah.
about all of us. And I think particularly for brown people, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're Black, you know, whether you're Asian, I think we have to unite. And we will have our individual cultures, and I think that's a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
But that doesn't keep us from doing things together. And I wanted to ask you a question, Ramona, if you don't mind.
Mhm.
When I read I think it was in the story you told in your anthology, I learned more about your culture that was really just uplifting. It was beautiful. You talked about the special holidays. I was wondering if you now continue that in your home.
Yeah, yes, I do. I I try to do as much as I can. For example, on November, on the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, I do my altar. I bring the picture for those who already went. I decorate with bread, with some kind of tequila, fruits, lights, a lot of color paper. On the Christmas, I pray with my children. We pray. We sit down on the living room and we talk about, right now on the streets, people is outside, with fireworks, fire lights, and all of that. So we use, the month of the African American history put me back to my past. And I'm sure for what I have seen here in United States with you, all of you, with, friends, around neighbors, um, make me, for me, February, March, the whole year is so special because it took me back into my past. Even when I come from Mexico, we are very, very similar. We are equal. The only difference is just I born there and you born here, but still you keep as a treasure your roots. You still remember when your grandma, talking to you about her uncles and what they did and what it used to be, or where they were, who they were. And it's the same for me. And I'm sure for Dionisio, the same coming from another country. We just keep that part very close to us. And I think that motivates us to continue fighting, even when somebody had to come and force us. We still keep that. And I really admire the African American community because it's something that I think maintain all of these communities keep going and keep fighting and keep raising the voices the same like we do. So yes, Paulina, I'm still trying to put my children into everything I bring for them to this country.
Yes.
And it's fun. And I always tell them, look, you have to learn to do this because one day you're gonna die. And what you gonna teach your children?
Yes.
If the dog gets sick and you're gonna go to the doctor instead to, do a remedy that I know and they can be fine. Many people laugh because my grandmother, they live in a farm. And every time a dog got sick, because they have a lot of dogs. So when they were sick, my mom got a Coca-Cola and she put the whole bottle into the mouth of the dog. And then with that, the next day, the dog was good.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how, don't asking me. And it's what I do, it's what I learned from my grandmother. So, it's very valuable. So just things like that are so funny. And people sometimes say, no, the dog needs a doctor. Sometimes not. Doctor. Things like that make us still strong to keep doing so many things and keeping those secrets or things that are very valuable.
Mhm.
Very valuable.
I think that, as we grow into new centuries, we think that what's coming is going to be so much better, but you are absolutely right. Some of the basics are things that kept generations of people alive. I grew up in a little commune, even in this teeny little town. Where my house was, my mother's brother's house was right next door. My grandmother's house was right behind us. So we had our own little commune within the community.
Mm.
When we would get up in the morning, all of us would walk to my grandmother's house and she would have breakfast ready, bacon, eggs, biscuits. We would just go to her house and eat. Many times we would go next door to my aunt's house, who was a master soul food chef. and eat. And we did everything together. But my grandmother used to go in the yard and dig up sassafras roots. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that.
No.
Boil the sassafras roots and make tea. And that was a remedy for anything that ailed us. And so they used to create these little rubs that we would put on our chest. I still do that kind of stuff. And actually, if anybody out there in Radio Land knows where I can find some sassafras, please tell me so I can continue to make this tea. It was life-saving, and we cannot let those things go because in some people's minds they seem primitive. They're not. They're healing things that we have to pass on to our next generation of people. I think that's coming back with these local community farms and people growing things. My daughter started a garden in her own backyard. Now, I don't know if I'm that good, but I think we have to do those kinds of things.
Yeah. Dionicio, you can tell us a little story?
No, I was just paying attention to what you guys were saying, and it's it's true, like what you were saying, Ramona, about how the Mexican culture and the American culture, it's because I grew up, like I said, here in the United States, and when I was small, I knew more about the in a funny kind of way, more about the Black history, because I went to an Atlanta public schools, and I remember that in February they used to play the Martin Luther King's tapes, and all the stuff that happened with the citizens and stuff like that. That when I was small, that was the history I learned or I cared more about. But once I started getting older, and how you were saying, like the Dia de los Muertos, and how we celebrate different, like the Christmas, and how Mother's Day is so important, and Father's Day. And going back to Miss Pauline, how and which I was talking about, like the natural herbs. I I remember when I went to Mexico to visit, like how the lifestyle and stuff that they do, like that we're sometimes we're a lot dependent on stuff here because it's so easily to obtain, like medicine and like going to the doctor. That I remember when we went up to the mountain stuff, like how Miss Pauline was saying that we do stuff like that, like where they go out there and get like leaves or to do teas and home remedies, like how Ramona was saying, and it's true that a lot of times we forget. Like me, in my case, I have a mixed daughter. She's half Mexican and half Black, so it's kind of interesting, that I'm trying to teach her some of the things we do, like culturally, but also that she has to learn both cultures. And I think that's something that it's hopefully we can pick up on, or she can pick up on, that we don't have to, only because she's Mexican, she's gonna have to learn majority Mexican, or she's Black, she's gonna have to learn more Black culture. I think she has to. I'm trying to. How can I say it? I will hope that she grows up loving both of her sides, not just one.
Yeah. Corlissa?
Well, my grandmother's remedy for everything was you need some castor oil. And if you don't know what castor oil is, that's an oily substance that'll make you poop. So she was, if you pretended like you didn't want to go to school, you didn't with her, because she'd make you stay at home and drink that castor oil. But my grandmother also did a lot of home remedies. She had 14 children, so she didn't have the means nor the time to keep running to the doctor. Yeah. And I remember one day my uncle had something wrong with his foot, and I don't know if he had gashed it or cut it or something. And she got a white potato and cut it open and put the open part of the potato on his foot, then wrapped it with an ace bandage. And the next morning it had pulled all the infection out. I just thought that was amazing. And I was like, where did you learn how to do that? But, you know, so we grew up with a lot of that. And I think that people now call it holistic.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, our ancestors have been doing these things for years.
Mhm.
That's true. And I think I'm agree with Pauline that everything is coming. Everything is coming because the new, we can say new generation, new technology, new, ways to do things are not working. Then we have to back to what we used to live. And I just hope that this generation back into those, to those customs and to those cultural, costumes, it, don't delay, don't take more time, because unfortunately our old elders are just gone. And if you don't, this is a message for young people and everybody who is listening us. Um, you have to listen, you have to learn to listen. Just quiet and listen and look, become observative of what your mom, your grandma, your neighbor do, because you never know, maybe one day that can be save your life or the life of your child. Um, so that is the important for our heritage. No matter if you come from Mexico, Asia, or wherever you come from, that is your heritage and your identity and your soul, your soul. And it's something that you have to carry everywhere where you go. So the next question is, I know to become a writer, to become, working on the community, it is a hard way. So how has been the process to become a writer, and in your in your personal and professional life? How was the process for you? Corlissa, you want to begin?
The process of becoming professional.
A writer in your, on that part, but also professionally and personally. How was the process? What was the challenges to, you know?
I think the challenges for me in my environment was basically me. I was my challenge. It wasn't that I didn't have encouraging parents or teachers, but sometimes when you're looking at other peers and it seems like they're doing 10 things and you're doing one thing and struggling at that one thing, that is, it can be intimidating. So I think the challenge was to do that one thing very well, as opposed to 10 things kind of sort of. And that was a challenge for me personally. Professionally, I believe to learn how to deal with politics in the workplace is a very maturing experience. And once we realize that we can maintain our self-identity instead of the identity that others are trying to portray us as, then we can continue to put our best foot forward.
Thank you, Corlissa. Pauline?
Well, as I listened to Corlissa, I thought about my growth in two parts, actually. After I left home, went to college, I was on a very definite path, I thought. I went to college to lay the groundwork to become a doctor, but I found out chemistry taught me I couldn't do that. So I found out I had some limitations that was not going to allow me to go on to medical school, which was very disappointing for me. However, God always has another plan. I changed my major to psychology and I decided I wanted to be a psychologist. And I was on the path. And then I found out I had some roadblocks that kept me from doing that. However, I ended up in a job that was the job made for me. I ended up as an employee advocate in the healthcare system, fighting for employee rights and mediating when employees had problems with each other and with their managers. And I found that I absolutely loved that, and I never turned back until I retired. That's what I did most of my career. Part of it was as a recruiter in human resources, but I transitioned into advocacy and just loved it. When I retired, I thought I was just going to put my feet up and plant flowers and enjoy myself. And that didn't happen. I transitioned into writing by being pushed by a friend of mine. Her name is Tom Macbeth. And she still pushes me. I'm so glad I have her to motivate me. And the writing has just grown. It has grown with my relationship with Corlissa, with you, Ramona, with Dionicio, with all the writers in the writing club. I just feed off of that. When somebody else does something, I'm thinking, I need to do something else. I use it to just continue to level me up. And now in retirement, COVID has really been one of the most inspirational things for me. I mean, we have a lot of negative things to say about COVID, but COVID has allowed me to focus and do far more writing than I normally would have because I'm still, be still and know. And so the career path has been slow, sure. That's my mantra. I'm not rushing into anything. Just take your time, but keep it moving. And things will just be put in your path that you never expected. And that's how I've gotten to where I've gotten now. So now I'm at a place where I'm really enjoying it.
That's great. Dionisio?
Well, I'm gonna start off with me saying that personally, like in a personal level, I think with me that helped me out a lot in a weird way is me losing my vision uh, at a young age because uh, what I mean by that is because it helped me out in the long run because in a weird way I don't see people's skin color, which I don't care anyways. But when you grow up and we talk about like culturally, there's stereotypes about people. And when you don't hang around, let's say, with other races besides yours, there's stereotypes that sometimes you only think that your race or your people are the only people that that go through stuff that harm them, and socially or even physically. And once I lost my vision, and and I started get sadly caring more about what's going on, and socially and with other people and other races, that I think it helped me out because it makes you seem that what makes you realize that we all go through stuff. At the end of the day, we all still humans. We all still have feelings. When I put that in my times when I go to school, and I don't care what color you are, or what problems, if you're rich or poor, that we all still hurt inside. In a weird way, I'm not trying to hopefully, like, how can I explain it? I lost my words. That's what basically I'm trying to say. I think I'm overthinking it too much. And, and the process is, once I found myself and just noticed that we all go to get, we all go through the same things, regardless what race or what thing, um, what type of economic situation you in, that we all go through the same problems sometimes. It helped me out a lot in my, with me motivational speaking, what my motivational speaking or my YouTube videos, that, it's one purpose in life for me. And that's that we all are the same, and just to help out other people, like how Miss Pauline was saying earlier, that if people just reached out regardless of their race, their sexuality or stuff like that, that we can all help out people out there. If we just put our little 2 cents in there, I think the world will be a better place.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you, Dionisio. And I think we all are changing something. It's small and it can become bigger. That's why, you know, always is important to relate with other person, because it's true. Even people living in United States, I remember when I was doing my GD on the Housing Authority of College Park, I met a lady. I didn't speak too much because my English still was building, but I got with a lady, an African American lady, so nice, and I love talk to her. She couldn't hear very well, and I was talking with her. Those days that you are lazy and you don't want to open the book. And she was talking to me about that when she was on elementary school, middle school, and then high school. She didn't have the opportunity to get the proper education, the proper help, because the teacher sit her on the last line, and she couldn't hear. And her mom, they don't have, a good financially situation, and she was just talking, but I couldn't hear her, very frustrated and sad that even she is from United States and she didn't have the opportunity to learn in the proper way with her disability. And it's like, I say, moms or adult people rush so much in build something and work and spending more time growing, but sadly, many of the times we don't focus on what is really important, our children. So she telling me, I told my mom I couldn't hear, but she used say, you're lazy, you need to put attention, you need to listen. But she say, my mom never put the attention I needed. My teacher put me on the last line. So since I was little, I didn't have opportunity to have a career or higher education. So, and she was telling me on those times there wasn't a lot help or a lot of counselors that talk to you what is happening, so the times were so different as are now. But we can see that um, we are not different. We all live situations like that in any part of the world. And, we are multicultural. We have to embrace our diversity, because probably our skin, our color, our accent when we speak is different, but we are not different. It's just that sometimes we don't have the proper opportunity coming on time. And that is true. There is a lot stigma between the communities. There is a lot that our elders, our leaders from our past try and fight, and most of them died trying to fix it, trying to change it, and we are still fighting for the same. So I think hopefully this new generation can, become listeners and put in action and bring the past into our present, because more than ever more right now, we need that. We need that. So um, just keep just keep telling and opening your voices outside, because at least one or two persons we touch I'm sure that makes a big difference. And thank you so much, Pauline, Dionicio, Corlissa. Keep writing, and keep teaching us. And Pauline, please don't stop pushing us.
I won't.
Sure.
That'll help me keep growing.
Thank you so much. So we have a few time and I'm gonna translate in Spanish. Entonces, el programa de hoy se trató sobre nuestra herencia cultural, lo importante que es mantener nuestras costumbres, no importa de dónde vengamos, siempre tenemos que traer nuestras costumbres, lo que nuestros abuelos nos enseñaron, porque es lo que nos da nuestra identidad y durante nuestra vida nos da la fuerza para seguir adelante, saber a dónde queremos ir. Es importante mantener a nuestros hijos con ese conocimiento de platicarles nuestras historias de cuando éramos chiquillos, nuestras historias cuando nuestra mamá nos mandaba con nuestra abuelita para ayudarle a la mejor en las vacaciones que nos mandaban al rancho a pasarla con ellos y ayudarlos. Todo eso nos hace individuos valuables. Y eso ojalá que vuelva con nuestra nueva generación. Estando en los Estados Unidos, yo sé que es difícil mantenernos porque estamos constantemente moviéndonos, constantemente queriendo crecer financieramente, profesionalmente, pero nunca olviden que tenemos que dejar nuestra historia con nuestros hijos, no importa en el lugar donde nosotros estemos. One last question. What is your advice for young people, for this new generation? Pauline.
Well, my advice is twofold. Number one, reach back and help somebody else. Always be lifting up others. Number two, because we don't live in this world alone. Number two is to do your very best to live your dreams and don't let anything stop you from getting there.
Gracias, Pablo. Dionisio?
Well, I guess my best thing is for the youth is that, like, culturally, I think that they should research and find out where they're from and stuff that celebrate, because it's important to know at least where you're coming from and history from your family, for you won't lose that. And my second thing is just like what Ms. Pauline say, go for your dream. Don't let nothing stop you. Don't put yourself in no situation that would hurt you or hurt your family, not physically or even emotionally. And don't end up in the same situation I ended up, with a disability, for thinking that something was worth it. And at the end, it was not.
Gastro? Corlissa?
I have to go back to exploring your interest and trying different things to see what you like to do, what you desire to do. And when you find that area that most interests you, don't just say, well, I have a God-given talent, which it is. Find an avenue or way or a person that can continue to cultivate your skills so that you can continue to be polished, professional, to be the best craft at your game.
That is beautiful. That's true. So I hope we have another minute for the last question. So what are you working on right now?
You want me to go?
Yes.
Well, I have had the wonderful opportunity to become a contributing writer for a magazine. This just happened. I shared it with Dionicio. I was so excited about it. I couldn't believe it because this has been a dream of mine for a long time. And I am going to continue to write for them as long as I possibly can. It has just being able to do that has pushed me to just step up my writing. I'm writing more now than ever. So I'm so appreciative for that opportunity. And if I get an opportunity to share any of your stories, I sure will.
Oh, that's amazing. Dionicio?
Well, me right now, the only thing I am working on right now is on my YouTube channel. Besides that, probably writing when I have the like my mindset on it, but it's just my YouTube channel.
That's great. That's so
Yes.
great. The communications from others is the best you can do. Listening and put attention, because that make you grow. That make you realize that somebody else is working with in something, traveling with so many.
Yes.
So it's amazing. And I hope, Dionicio, you can put it on Facebook and you can share with all of us so we can support you.
Okay.
Corlissa.
I'm working on the next blog at preservewithpurpose.com if you want to go out and look at it. And the main gist of that blog is to encourage everyone that no matter how many or large the task, we all have a purpose.
Yeah.
And we need to continue to stay on track with our purpose and motivating others to get their purpose done. So that's what I'm working on soon.
That's great. And you true, we all need motivation. We all need motivation for everyone. Just to realize, like I say, there are people who are living worse things like us, and we need to maintain us motivated. So I working. I'm thinking to start. I would like this year to start my third book, an advanced guide to becoming bilingual. I hope. I'm gonna become a grandmother. Hopefully, so that's gonna keep me busy. I'm still doing my classes. And anyone who needs and want to join us, send me an email, send me a message through Facebook, WCEG. Just keeping busy and looking for new projects. To motivate, keep on motivating people, keep motivating myself. And the advice I want to send to everyone is, we are living a hard times right now. We don't know where this country or where we're going with so many things. And we don't know when God going to call us, because life is so short. Just maintain yourself motivated and happy. Do wherever is your happiness. Waiting for the next day, but know that you have to live fully on one day you live. And just keep going in life, because we're still alive. So,
Yes.
True.
so I'm gonna say bye to you. I'm gonna see you soon, but I want to say from my heart, thank you so much for staying with us today and share with us all the valuable knowledge you have, and gave us motivation to continue.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
opportunity, Ramona. It was beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.